Okay, so this is a $250 gaming focused smartphone coming from Infinix. This is their GT10 Pro, and I'm about to unbox this bad boy to see what you get for that price. And first I need to cut this plastic off. And the bottom slides out just like this. I'm liking this packaging so far. I like the black and orange with this theme. Grand Gaming Tour outplayed the rest. Infinix GT. So this is going to be maybe a case inside of here. Yep, we do have a plastic case, and I'll show you how that looks when I get the phone fully unboxed. And I think this is going to be some type of screen protector here. So some more extra protection for your gaming. And now let's get to the phone, which is sitting here for us. Let's go ahead and get this out. And actually first, let's go ahead and see what we get inside of this box. So this is a 45-watt fast charger for this phone. So this adapter is not going to work for me in the US because this phone isn't like launching in the US, but luckily I have plenty of other adapters. But yeah, we also do get some wired headphones here. Yes, because this phone does have a 3.5mm headphone port. So that is nice to see these days. And then also we do have a orange USB type A to USB type C cable here. It looks like the USB-C end is right angled as well, which is nice. But let's throw all of that back in there and now get this phone, which is already trying to sneak out of this packaging for me. But let's go ahead and get this thing fully undressed here. And it looks like a screen protector is already on here, but it's nice that they threw in an extra one in the box for later. And now let me go ahead and get this last piece of plastic off, and voila. So here it is. So this is their Cyber Black version. They also do have Mirage Silver, but this thing looks nice. So you have some glass here on the back, but it's showing the components here on the back of the phone. And I do believe this right here is going to be a LED strip that you can customize for notifications and gaming and phone calls and stuff. So I'll take a look at that in a second. And you do have flat size with the SIM card tray on that side. Oh, God. Fail. And then also you do have the volume buttons and also the power button on this side. And then also on the bottom, you will be finding a USB-C port and speakers and the headphone port there as well. And let me get this thing turned on. And this is a 6.67-inch AMOLED display. And while I'm getting this thing set up, let's go ahead and talk about the specs. So this comes with the MediaTek Dimensity 8050 processor inside of it. And it comes in either 8 or 16 gigabyte RAM configuration. And it does come with 256 gigabytes of storage. So yeah, you just have this one storage option for this phone. But I forgot to mention earlier that SIM card tray actually has a place for a micro SD card as well. So that will allow you to expand your storage. It also has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Now you are just stuck with that 45-watt wired charging. You do not get wireless charging with this. It has 5G. It will be running Android 13. And as I mentioned before, the display does come in at 6.67 inches. It is AMOLED FHD+, so it has a resolution of 1080 by 2400. And it can run at 120 hertz. And I do believe that it is adaptive, so it can go between 60, 90, and 120. And underneath the screen, you will find a fingerprint scanner so you can quickly unlock your phone. Okay, so at this point, I've been using this phone for a little while. And as far as the gaming performance, I will say for a lower end phone when it comes to the price, it did give me mid-range performance most of the time. And my bar as far as like how something is good at gaming is, did I get frustrated while I was playing it because the frame rate was dropping or the visuals weren't that great? And I can say that that wasn't the case with this phone. I felt that this big screen gave me a lot of screen real estate to enjoy when I was playing like Fortnite and stuff. And the visual fidelity, I would say, as far as like the resolution and, you know, textures and stuff was generally good. I was able to turn up the settings in most of my games up to pretty high. The 4D vibration technology that will be giving you some of that vibration feedback when you are hearing explosions and stuff, it was fine. And the dual speakers are actually something that I really did like of this phone. Everything was really loud and relatively clear. Now, as you can tell, I do like to play a lot of games on my smartphones with a gaming controller. And so if you don't like to do that, this does have a 360 hertz touch sampling rate. So if you do like to use your fingers on the screen, that should have you covered. Now, for my experience with gaming controllers, I did try to use my backbone controller, but I could not get that to consistently work with this phone. But I did use my Razer Kishi V2 and that worked with no problem. So that was my go-to controller while playing. And one of the main reasons why I do like to use gaming controllers is because you get those shoulder buttons and the triggers and stuff. And I do typically like my gaming smartphone to have some of those features like shoulder buttons because that helps separate it from other phones around this price range that aren't targeted towards gaming, but can probably give you similar in-game experiences. But this phone does have one option for you that you can enable just while you are in the game. You can swipe over until you see a little controller, and then now you get this panel here that will give you a bunch of different options. But the option that I'm talking about here is going to be the magic button, and so this will allow you to actually assign the volume plus and volume minus buttons to be able to act like controller buttons for your game. So once you enable this, you have this little on-screen kind of cursor that you need to place over that virtual button that you want the volume buttons to mimic. And then now I can use the volume up button to be able to act as my trigger, and then I can use the volume down button to be my reload button if I wanted to. So that's actually nice and useful. You don't see that on every single phone. But the one issue with this is that the volume buttons are actually more towards the center of the phone, where my traditional shoulder buttons, of course, you want to have those towards the outer edges of the phone. So it's not perfect, but again, it's something that you can do. All right, but getting back to this gaming panel, you can add some of your favorite apps up here for quick access. And then also you can quickly take a screenshot or enable screen recording. And it does give you some performance settings as far as power saving, equal, and also performance, so you can get that maximum frame rate. It does have a frame rate counter and also shows you real-time performance usage of your CPU and your GPU in a very nice little graphic down here. And then also you can swipe down, you have an option to lock in the brightness, and also you can do bypass charging, which is nice. So if you do have this phone plugged in, you'll be able to say, hey, I don't want it to start charging until the phone gets down to 20%. And that can reduce when you are charging. The phone will kind of naturally heat up a little bit if you are holding this phone in your hand and not using a controller. So now you can say wait till 20% in order to start that charging, so you won't have to experience that. And you can also set how much of a charge that you want it to get back up to, so you can have it stop at 30 or 50%. And then they do have a dedicated X Arena app, which I think the quick panel that I showed you is an extension of this. But down here you will find a few extra settings that I did turn on, including the increased footstep sound. So when I am playing my first person shooters, I can have a better chance of hearing the enemies around me. And then also there is an option called graphic enhancement style, but I didn't have any games that would work with this. But this will allow you to actually change just the kind of the color setup for these particular games, from colorful to also soft, if you want it to be a little bit more subdued. Now let's talk about this little LED strip here that I mentioned in my unboxing part. So this will actually work with some games to give you some type of lighting effects, but it's really not that advanced. So I think the most useful things that you can do with this is if you are getting a phone call and maybe you have your phone set face down on a desk and on vibrate or maybe even silent, this will be able to light up in different patterns that you can choose. I believe there's like 3 or 4 patterns, and it can also light up when notifications come in, and also charging, which it makes a nice little animation for that. So look, it's not something as advanced like the Nothing Phone 2 where the entire back of the phone can dance for you and stuff, but this is something that I think gaming people would like, because when it comes to gaming, it's not only just how something performs, but it also is how something looks, and I think this does add to the style of this phone. Now, software performance has been pretty good on this phone. Again, the base layer is Android 13, but they do have their own skin running on top of it, and out the box you do have 2 different themes that you can choose from. You have this Mecha Player one, which will make a lot of the app icons look a little bit, robotic and futuristic. But then you have the geometric fashion one, which will make this look a little bit more like regular Androids. But I do appreciate that Infinix did make a commitment to not installing a bunch of third-party apps and different games and stuff already on this phone. And sometimes companies do that to decrease the price of the phone, but they chose not to. So all of the apps and stuff like that outside of the stock apps that Infinix made for this phone are apps that I had to download myself. So I really appreciate not having that bloatware. But generally, navigation is good. I do wish that I could actually be able to delete multiple apps at the same time. I can only like drag and move them to another screen if I wanted to do that, but I don't see no way for me to actually delete all of those at one time. I have to go individually to delete them. But I do like the fact when you do scroll down here from the top, you have your quick toggles that are just one swipe away, but you can also have your notifications that are a swipe to the left. Oh, now let's talk about the cameras, because typically on gaming smartphones, cameras are like afterthoughts, so you don't really see a big focus, but you do have an 108 megapixel main camera. Then you have a couple of cameras on the back here, which I think are like depth cameras and stuff, so they look cooler than what they really are. But the main 108 megapixel camera was pretty decent, I would say. I did take some selfies with it, so you can see the quality versus the 32 megapixel front-facing selfie camera. And I have to say that I didn't expect a lot, but it was actually fine for what I was getting for this price point. And the 108 megapixels do give you some more flexibility if you do like to crop into your photos after you take them. But I will say the colors were fine. I left a lot of the AI, settings and stuff just enabled. So generally it was fine. Now, when it comes to videos, both cameras are just fine. I find that at this price range, you usually see a lot of shakiness in the video. So with the rear facing camera, you can take 4K video at 30 frames per second. And with the front facing camera, I believe you can go up to like 2K or something at 30 frames per second. And then with both cameras, you can do 1080p up to 60 frames per second. But the biggest thing that takes away from the video on this phone is really just going to be that shakiness that you get. So the stabilization just takes away from the entire video. But if you are standing still, maybe doing like an Instagram reel or something, it'll be okay. So yeah, I think that's all I have here for the Infinix GT10 Pro. A really good budget gaming phone. I think for the price, you are getting some gaming specific features, especially with the software and the cool design on the back, the in-display fingerprint scanner, and also some pretty decent cameras for $250. I think it's an overall good buy for that gamer who's looking for something on a budget. So I'll drop a link down below to this phone. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. But like always, I do want to thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you later. Peace.